Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Knoll, and welcome back once again to the Movie Battleground. I hope you guys enjoyed the Wizarding World exhibition match that went up last Thursday, but we are back once again for a regular matchup, and it is an interesting one to say the least. The last couple of weeks, we've had the bronze bracket matches go up. We had myself and Matt face off. We had Jeremy and Jay face off. I'm not going to spoil them for you quite yet, but the winners of those matches, check them out if you haven't seen them, are going to play each other in a number one contenders match shortly down the road. However, outside of all those top contender matches and buildups, we do have players that are getting themselves started, and we have two of those guys here today. We have, of course, if you've been around the fan leagues for a long time, you know Dr. Spaceman Alan Shepard, who had a very, very hard-fought win against David Garcia Alonso in his first match, and he will be taking on Will Cohen, who was a complete rookie. Alan's obviously kind of that sort of rookie where he had played before, but the record reset happened and he got started later than everybody else. Will, on the other hand, was a complete rookie to Battleground, and he had a very impressive win in his own right against Jacob Barber, who did have a match under his belt. Will, Alan are back. The winner today goes on to become 2-0, which could mean something important to them going forward. So let's go ahead and see who it is. Introducing first, with a record of 1 win, no defeats. He likes to be called the Virtuoso, Will Cohen. Will, welcome back to the Movie Battleground, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. At the time of this recording, I am now celebrating the final day of my 30s, which is a very weird thing to even think about. Um, this is a match that when I was first told, I think I was told at the end of the drunk exhibition, and
Sounds
that
about right.
was startling news to get when you are 4 shots deep of bourbon. So
Sorry.
yeah,
Never a better time.
oh, of course. So what's funny is that I actually adjudicated Alan's match against David, and so I know what kind of competitor he is. So preparing for this has been a very interesting journey, all leading up to this, and I'm very excited to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And last time you came in, Jacob is a newer competitor, but he still had at least a match under his belt prior to playing you. So it meant that he
Right,
did technically have a leg up on you. Alan, record wise, maybe the same as you, but he obviously does have a lot more previous experience than you. Is that something that
right.
intimidates you at all, or are you ready for the challenge?
you know, considering some of the other competitors I've faced in exhibitions, both in the last exhibition I did and the 2021 exhibition. Like everyone, all of them were more seasoned players than I was when I came in. The 2021 exhibition, I beat both seasoned competitors there, and in the drunk exhibition, as hammered as I was, I still came in second. Uh, that's saying something, as far as I'm concerned. So do am I taking this lightly? Absolutely not. But am I trembling in my boots about it? Not really. I accept the challenge as what it is, and I'm very eager. I'm very eager to see how this goes.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to send you to the back for just one moment as we introduce your opponent, coming in also with a record of 1 win, no defeats. He is not a legally medically certified doctor, but he is the type of doctor that Alan Grant is. Also, not really, but sort of. He is also an oxygen breather who has never been to space, but he is still affectionately Dr. Spaceman Alan Shepard. Alan, how's it going, buddy? Welcome back.
Ooh, aloha kako. I'm excited to be back. Always good to see you, Ron. Really good to see Will, and happy birthday tomorrow, Will. That's really exciting. I remember those days, way, way, way long time ago when I turned 40, and it ain't no fun. Turning 30 wasn't no fun, really. Turning 40, and now I'm, pushing the other one. But we'll see how that works out. I'm just happy to be here. I'm always excited to having fun competition like this. So yay.
I do not know what it feels like to turn 40, but when it happens, I'll shoot you a message.
That's
Uh,
true.
No, so
Yeah.
obviously last time you came back as a rookie of sorts, but we all know that you have played before. and you went up against David, who had, I believe, with the exception of one or two geek matches, never debated. So he had very,
Yeah.
very minimal experience, and he gave you a test. And now Will comes in with, including the exhibitions, 3 matches under his belt. So it's about as much experience as David has. Does that give you any air of confidence, or is it still, let's just take this one at a time?
I take them all one at a time, whether it be the debates, whether it be the trivia. You know me, I'm just here to have fun, have a good time. And I always expect the best out of every opponent that I go against because everybody's passionate here. Everybody loves this stuff. That's why we're here. So David, you know, I knew he was passionate, super passionate about his trivia record. So I had no doubt that he would be a tough component or opponent rather for the debates. And then Will, he's just as passionate. I've seen him a million times doing a million different things, and the boy got skills oratorially specifically. So this will be fun.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go ahead and bring him in as we go ahead and get into this match. Movie Battleground is a best of 5 rounds. It is the first of 3 points to win. Each round of debate is worth 1 point. If one of these competitors happens to pull off 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. If it is a 2-2 tie at the end of 4 rounds, we do have a blind round question ready to go, but we'll worry about that when we get there. In terms of the debates, the competitors were given the questions ahead of time. They've had their time to prep. The way it'll go is they will each get 1 minute to open their argument. That'll be followed by 2 minutes of opportunity to kind of explain and expand on their arguments. A 4-minute open debate will follow where they'll get to go back and forth and get in as many points as possible, followed by 60 seconds to close out. At the end of the 4 stages of debate, I do have 3 judges backstage: Austin Howell, Jonathan Peck, and Jake Reese, each of whom will make their deliberations on based off of what was said on who they think won. They'll come on screen and they will deliver those deliberations. With that said, any questions from you guys? Are we ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right. So we'll go ahead and get into it. And it is fitting that we have a question like this up first because, as was said, we had our Harry Potter or Wizarding World, excuse me, to be more specific, exhibition match on Thursday and Friday in full release. Fantastic Beasts, the Secrets of Dumbledore. That's what it's called, right? The Secrets of Dumbledore. It's an awful title. I still stand by that. It's an awful title, but it is in theaters. Hopefully it's good, and it's got a very big ensemble cast, but somebody who's not in that film is one Johnny Depp. Now, whether or not you agree or disagree with his firing, or, well, let's be real, more specifically, Amber Heard's not firing, I think we can all agree that Depp put in a probably better performance than I think anyone would have guessed in that second film, considering his recent track record, and it is somewhat a shame that he's not there, although I wish Mads the best of luck. With that said, let's talk about some of Johnny Depp's better work. The question is, what is Johnny Depp's best film released in the 2000s? He's got a whole decade of 10 years worth of films, and we didn't go past the first 4, but that's not saying, no, it's saying everything about his career. The more Tim Burton-y it got, the worse it got, let's be real. With that said, though, let's go ahead and get into it. Alan, because you did make a trip to the blind round last time, you were deemed the favorite in today's match. So you had the option of which question you wanted to go first or second on. You chose to go first on questions 2 and 4, which means, Will, you are up first. And as I go ahead and bring in your timer, it will start ticking when you begin speaking, sir.
So I find it really interesting that we chose this decade for Johnny Depp's work because I really feel like this was kind of like the beginning of the end for Johnny Depp in terms of his career, where it started to peak, and then it just bottomed out. So the film I chose for this is Chocolat. Why did I choose Chocolat? Glad you asked. So I want to take you back to the days when Johnny Depp was an actor and not an overpaid clown. Chocolat was one of the last films that he did where he didn't look like Hot Topic exploded all over his face. He didn't just act as bombastically as possible. He actually showed range. He actually showed why he is the leading man he is. It is, and even when you ignore Johnny Depp's performance in the film, it is a wonderful, loving, comedic, dramatic story that is one for the ages.
And time. Sorry about that slight internet blip on my end. Sputtered up the timer there, but you're still good on time. Alan, up to you, sir. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I was also thought it was very interesting. We went into this range time wise of Johnny Depp because Will's right. It was very much his kind of almost decline. I mean, he stuck around for a long time, did a lot of different things. But I went with the very obvious Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, Curse of the Black Pearl, and the amazing character that was Jack Sparrow. That really, without that character, there would have been no other Pirates movies. I mean, the pirate movie, the first one was very good, but you were glued to the screen every single time he was on stage. And for an actor, that's kind of, we've seen a lot what he can do. Haven't seen him in a while command a movie all by himself with a character, with different character choices, and creating this memorable character. It's hard to do that in a lot of different films, to say, okay, this is a side character, but this guy clearly we remember the most because of this amazing character he created. So as an actor myself, it's always good to have that character in your back pocket. And this was a very memorable one. And I thought the best performance of the 2000s for him. And there we go.
Right. That will be time. Oh, no, the timer never paused itself. Okay, now bounce back 30 seconds. All right, we got this.
Okay.
We got it.
All right. I'm just going to let it count down, and I'll vamp for about 10 seconds. I just want to comment on how funny it is that for a white man, Johnny Depp does wear whiteface a lot. It actually is an interesting thing to look at. Like, he wears more white makeup than an old British person. It's really weird.
Kind of true.
That said, Will, back to you, sir, for chocolate. 2 minutes on the clock.
So I do want to, start right off the bat by saying that I find it interesting that we both chose movies where Johnny Depp was the side character. That's very interesting. Which kind of leads to both of our comments that this maybe was the beginning of the end for Depp. But while Jack Sparrow was a great, memorable performance for Johnny Depp, the question is, what is Johnny Depp's best film release in this time period? Now, Pirates of the Caribbean is a good, fun popcorn flick. The last time we saw pirates on the big screen was Cutthroat Island, and no one wants to fucking talk about that movie. And there were some fun characters in it. You have Barbossa, played by Jeffrey Rush. You had Orlando Bloom coming off of the Lord of the Rings films. You had Keira Knightley. It's a fun film. But what was his best film? The best film was Chocolat. You have this woman who comes in, opens up this chocolate shop, and just completely upends all the rules of this small town. She challenges the religious rule. She challenges what's good and what's bad. She challenges just what it means to be alive. And that's such a great, passionate movie. And then you have Johnny Depp as this drifter gypsy person who plays guitar, who just knows about the land, knows about how to be free and to live. And again, another character that just challenges the way the society works. But instead, unlike with Pirates of the Caribbean, he does it without being made up. He does it without being a silly jester. He does it with the joie de vivre that we used to know Johnny Depp for back in the 80s and 90s. And that's what makes that a better performance, and Chocolat just a better movie overall.
And time. All right, Alan, back up to you.
I chose Curse of the Black Pearl not only because I think it was Depp's best performance in it, but I think the best movie as well because it was, yes, lighthearted popcorn flick, but loved by millions of people. It became an international success because it was a good film, a good movie that was reachable to a broader audience. Chocolat, great film, but a very, very minute audience. And not really rewatchable. Once you've seen it, it's kind of, okay, that's very nice. It was sweet. But if I want to go back to something that I can rewatch with my kids or with other people, just random people, that I meet, who love film, we can always go back to Curse of the Black Pearl. It's got everything that you need in a film that is rewatchable and enjoyable and fun and exciting. There's all kinds of great things in that film that make it rewatchable, make it a great film. And I think when I see an actor, I want to see them do everything they've got and give it all on the screen right there. I mean, you could almost argue that his characters in both these films were kind of the same guy. You even said it yourself, he's a gypsy, free loving, all this kind of stuff. Well, that was Jack Sparrow. And we saw a lot of depth with Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow. He was terrified, he was commanding, he was a lover, he was a fighter, he was all of these things, and we got to see all of it. And there weren't, I think doing it in a clown way or a comedic way. There was some moments that he was actually taking command and very, very serious about certain things and extraordinarily confident. And then with the turn of a dime or drop of a dime, he could go from overly confident to abject terrified, which is great, which is fantastic to see an actor, and it can take us all on that journey. Again, it's more rewatchable, his performance, and I think the film overall is just more enjoyable and reaches a broader audience. And I think that for those reasons, that's the best film in his joie de whatever I love the word you said, man, bro. You went French on me. I love it. He had the joie de vivre. I think Jack Sparrow had it too. Yeah.
And time. All right. I like the French. It's a good touch. It helps us appeal to international audiences. I don't know if any of the judges speak French, so let's just not go too heavy. But with that said, 4 minutes on the clock, a maximum of 2 minutes of French, if you guys can get that far. Time starts in the first person.
Of course I had to use French. My film is a fucking French film, for God's sakes. I had to do it.
But, okay, since you were screaming at me, I'll give you 4 seconds.
Because of that. But let's break these two films down. Yes, if you want just a fun action film that's going to appeal to a broad audience, yeah, okay. Curse of the Black Pearl, you definitely can't get worse than some of those abysmal sequels got. But if you want to look at an overall film that has some great comedic moments, that's just dramatic without going too far over the top, where it can hit home on a personal level, you really don't get any better than Chocolat, because especially where I'm from, I'm in Utah, which is such a religious place. So seeing this woman who can just upend an overly religious town just with a piece of chocolate, that is just bold, that is beautiful, and that just hits home on such a personal level that I've wound up seeing this movie more than I think most Johnny Depp films, and that includes Curse of the Black Pearl.
Nice, but again, that's a selective group of people. Not everybody has, fortunately, that oppressive nature in the town they live in, and relatable to people of all ages. I think, yeah, Chocolat is a great film for that purpose, but that's such a select niche of people, and it doesn't really speak to the universal truths of all human beings and all people at the time. Especially when it was in the 2000s, when women empowerment and things like that have been happening for many, many, many years. And fortunately, we get this beautifully told tale. But it is, I think it's actually a lighter film than I would say Curse of the Black Pearl, because there's not a lot of peril involved for the main character. And the story was nicely wrapped up, and there you go. That's all we need. And we don't need to revisit it. Select few, again, you revisit it. That's beautiful. But not many other people are. With Curse of the Black Pearl, we get all these universal truths for everybody.
And even if you don't connect with the material on the personal level that some of us are going to, you still have vastly better performances, because you have, and of course now I'm going to blank on the guy's name, the guy who played Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina.
Oh, there we go. Alfred Molina. There you go. Molina.
As the head priest. It's like before he got into the before he got into the zeitgeist with Spider-Man 2, here he is just delivering this, on the drop of a dime, great performance, both comedic and dramatic. You have Judi Dench before she really got, really high into the zeitgeist too. You have all of these, all these great European actors and actresses that didn't get big until well after this film, just giving it their all. And then you also have Johnny Depp right there, who was just still on that, on that rise right before Curse of the Black Pearl, just 3 years prior.
Mhm.
And everyone is just coalescing. Everyone just has just such electric chemistry with just such a soft spoken, with just soft spoken words, with just these little like dramatic moments that you're just not quite getting in Curse of the Black Pearl. Curse of the Black Pearl is a great action film. I am not going to deny that because I can't. That that would make me look like a fucking idiot. What I can say though is that while you have a good, while you have a good performance from Johnny Depp, while you have good performances from Bloom, Knightley, and Jeffrey Rush, it's still not quite the the home hitter that I really feel Chocolat is. Chocolat just has more to say in its shorter run, in its shorter runtime. It's less than 2 hours than Curse of the Black Pearl does in its 2.5.
Maybe more to say in a different, but again, just to select people.
And time. All right, we're going to go on to the closings. Will, up first. Time starts when you begin speaking, sir.
So if when you look at Johnny Depp's career, you look at his films where he's Jack Sparrow essentially in almost all films. So of course, when you think of the 2000s, you immediately think, oh well, obviously his best film has to be where it all started, where the whole Hot Topic explosion happened, where he's just this out of the world character in Jack Sparrow. But if you think about the film as a whole, while Curse of the Black Pearl is definitely a fun movie that definitely inspires a lot of rewatching, Chocolat definitely has a lot more messages, a lot more a lot more parables to say in its short runtime. It may not be the film that you always want to go back to, but when you see it, you will always remember this film in your heart and in your head, and that is why Chocolat is such a treasure.
And time. All right, Alan, back over to you for the final minute of the round, sir. It starts when you speak.
I think Curse of the Black Pearl is a better movie because what a good movie does is takes us on an adventure and kind of touches on everything that we see that holds universal truths for all people. Again, when we're afraid, when we're excited, when we're feeling confident, when we're feeling motivated, when we want to feel love. There's all those things within Curse of the Black Pearl. And again, it takes you to that place every single time. I've seen Chocolat more than once. And a few times I've seen it, it's okay. I remember this is a very sweet movie, but I get it. Okay, great. And it kind of doesn't hold the same thing for me. I don't hold it in my heart and my head as much. Again, you probably connect with it on a different level or another level than I do. But I think that's probably true for the majority of people with that film. I think Curse of the Black Pearl just hits all those notes and creates this incredible character that is instantly relatable to all people, and all same truths within. We all want to go on an adventure. We all want to be a confident leader. We all get scared of things. And there's touching moments with a monkey, for God's sake, that he has, and they're subtle. It was nice.
All right, guys, thank you so much. A very, very good first round of debate. I'm going to go ahead and send you guys to the back and bring in our 3 judges as we go ahead and get into this. Not a lot of fact checking on this one. The first thing is it is worth noting that while multiple times Depp was referred to as a supporting actor in both films, he was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. Again, leading, supporting, it's all subjective. The Academy also have different rules that define leading and supporting. We've seen plenty of instances where actors that would be called leading go under supporting as well. But it is worth noting that in an award sense, he was defined as a leading actor. Also, when talking about the runtimes of the films, Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl is 2 hours and 23 minutes, so it comes in at that 2.5 hour mark. However, it is not far away from Chocolat. As Will said, Chocolat is 2 hours and 1 minute long, so it's about 30 minutes longer than Will said. But again, those are small details that I look up because I have 12 minutes in the back where I speak every once in a while. So with that said, Austin, I go to you, sir. First, welcome back. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold it?
I'm not used to these friendly debates where they're not verbally throat punching each other. This is very strange so far, where it's just gentlemanly. But anyways, so having said that, I thought both of their arguments were pretty spot on. So what I was looking for was counters. And to me, Alan, just give me a few more counters to the other film. I didn't really hear Will kind of go after Pirates that much. So Alan went after Chocolate a little bit more, so Alan gets my point.
All right. Jonathan, I go down to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
Very good, compelling arguments. Nothing lot of sort of like back and forth in it all that much, though. So I was thinking like more of a detailed idea. So, although it's a very interesting argument, and very interesting choices indeed for depends on depth films. For argument's sake, I'm going to go. Well, definitely on this time. I'm going to pick on Will for Chocolat. So that will be my point to him.
Okay. And Tato, I go over to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you? And you are muted.
I believe the actual specific name of the monkey. No, I don't give a shit. Alan got my point on this one for saying that the film is more for everybody.
All right. It was a very close debate. It is the finest of margins that take it. Gentlemen, thank you guys. I will go ahead and, first I will update the score because my browser ran slow for a second. And then I will send you guys to the back as we go ahead and bring back our competitors. And we head on to question number 2, which is very fitting because last week we had Harry Potter. Next week we have 420. And who better to talk about on 420 than a guy who's known for directing a film here or there and smoking a lot of pot in between, during, after, and probably while watching the movie. The question is, what is Kevin Smith's most underrated film? He's got a lot of films. Obviously, we are well known the View Askew universe, and I don't think it'd be shocking to say his most underrated is probably outside of the Askew universe. So let's see what we've come up with. Alan, you are up first on this one, sir. So I'll go ahead and give you the timer, and it will start ticking when you begin speaking.
I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I can't lie. I've seen all of his films multiple times. I really just am a big fan of his. And he's got hits and misses. He's got a lot of misses that I go, oh God, what the hell are you doing? But one that really surprised me generally was Red State. I really did not expect this film from him because we'd only seen ridiculous comedies or romantic comedies kind of from him. So Red State really changed my perspective. I said, this is a guy who actually can do more than one thing. He's more than one note. I think, in fact, he hasn't gone back to this note enough. He tried kind of with Tusk, but he failed miserably because we talk about Johnny Depp. Thank God we didn't have to talk about what his worst shit was because Tusk, he single-handedly ruined that movie. But Kevin Smith did write the character and put him in there. Fuck that. But the biggest surprise for me, and I think underrated, is Red State. I think it's a really great film that doesn't get nearly enough love or talked about by almost anyone, fans of Kevin Smith regardless.
I stuck a Johnny Depp question in there to be nice to the guy because he's got a movie coming out that he got kicked out of, and we've now found a way to shit on his declining 20-year career twice now.
What are you gonna do?
All right, Austin. Yeah, there's no throat punching, but damn, some therapy will be needed. Will, I go to you next. 1 minute on the clock.
Well, while Johnny Depp seeks out the nearest burn unit, let's talk about Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith has had a very storied career, but once again, he definitely had some valleys outside of View Askew. But there is one film that people, I think, talk more about the production end of things rather than the film itself, and that is a big fucking shame, and that is Cop Out. Cop Out is the comedy that he clearly always wanted to make. He tried to make Fletch, didn't work, but he clearly wanted to make a cop film. Hell, he even talked about Dante and Randall going to college and study criminology. How was that? How could that not have led to a buddy comedy featuring Dante and Randall? And we almost got that essentially with Cop Out. Cop Out has all of the comedy that you come to expect in a buddy cop system. You have Bruce Willis, who he worked with in Live Free or Die Hard. You have Tracy Morgan, who worked with him on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You have Sean William Scott. You have all these great characters in the best comedy.
And time. All right, Alan, back over to you for Red State.
We'll get into the Cop Out thing. We're going to get into it within the 4 minutes, brother. I mean, I ain't going to throw punch you because the person who needs to be throw punched was Kevin Smith for that goddamn movie. But I admire you trying to go run game for it. Red State had, if Cop Out, fuck it, we'll talk about Cop Out because you have two actors who are great actors who did not want to be there and didn't give a fuck. The amazing thing about Red State also is Michael Park's tour de force performance, which is absolutely mesmerizing and haunting. I mean, the first trailers for Red State were kind of a horror vibe. I'm going, wow, this is kind of interesting. This is a horror kind of thing. What is this film? And then Michael Park, once you meet that character and go on this journey with him, it's absolutely incredible and amazing. And even where he actually gets sympathy from the audience, which is terrifying in itself. And you see the power of these cult leaders, these different things regarding the religious aspect. And John Goodman turns out a great performance. You've got actors who want to be there, who want to do a good job and make an interesting, compelling film that I don't think it's a lot of love or respect or recognition. I think if he were to put that film out again, maybe in the film festival circuit or the kind of thing what he's doing with the other films that he does with Reboot, he especially took it on tour. I think he should do that with Red State again, and people can see this is really a good movie, not just a good Kevin Smith movie, but a really good, compelling, fascinating film that explores a lot of things that are hitting us right now: politics, religion, all kinds of different social issues that we take for granted and people want to hide behind or not, be too afraid to talk about in public. I think this film would be a great forum for that. And it's just really, really incredible. And again, underrated. Yeah, sure. Underrated. And I think it has a lot to say in its time. And I guess I'll concede the rest of my time. I only have 15 seconds. We'll concede. Because,
Absolutely. All right, Will, when the timer turns, you can begin speaking. And go ahead.
Okay, so let's talk about Red State just for a moment. Red State is a good film, but an incomplete film. I say it's an incomplete film because Kevin Smith had a vision for Red State that he was not able to complete. What was going to literally happen at the end of Red State, had he had his way, was going to be the literal biblical apocalypse. But what happened? He ran out of money, so they shoehorned this ending that unfortunately didn't make sense and derailed the entire movie. Now, yes, you have some pretty good performances from Michael Parks, from John Goodman, and from the rest of the cast. But where are the memorable performances? The memorable performances are in Cop Out. He's, my opponent said that, Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis didn't want to be there. When you watch the movie, you can't tell that. They are having fun. They are just riffing off of each other. They are just delivering jokes to and fro. You have, just these great moments where Tracy Morgan is interrogating and Bruce Willis is just heckling him the entire time. That scene alone is just straight ripped out of a Kevin Smith film, to the point you never would have known that Kevin Smith did not write that script. The people who wrote it clearly had Kevin Smith in mind to direct the film, and there's a reason. Then you have Sean William Scott's character as this weird cat burglar who is just wisecracking and telling really dirty knock-knock jokes. That is hilarious. And people just completely forget this film because, oh, well, Bruce Willis talked shit about him on set and made him cry and blah blah blah. Great. A lot of great films have production dramas. That doesn't mean that this is an underrated film. Red State is a good film, but I have a hard time calling it underrated. I feel like that is perfectly rated for where it is. Cop Out is seen as a very hated film for all the wrong reasons, and that is why it is his most underrated film.
And time. All right. There's going to be a 4-minute open discussion around, gentlemen. Time starts when you begin speaking.
All right, I'm going to get personal on this one only because my favorite things were in this movie. I love me some Bruce Willis, and I love me some Tracy Morgan. I follow that man to the end of the earth. I love that dude. But I was so excited. You got Kevin Smith, you got Bruce, you got Tracy. I'm super excited about this, and it really shit the bed. I can't remember being so embarrassed in a movie in my entire life watching this thing in the theater. What you call is they were riffing off of one another was no. It was Tracy Morgan was out riffing the hell out of Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis couldn't handle it. His ego couldn't handle it. So he said, all right, we're not going to do this. I'm going to stick to this, whatever the script is. Tracy Morgan can go off and do his thing, but there was no chemistry. There was an anti-chemistry there. It hurt the film. It hurt the performances. I disagree with you. Clearly.
They have these straight man comedic timing routine completely down. Bruce Willis is a great.
It wasn't down. Bruce couldn't keep up, and he knew he couldn't keep up. He knew he couldn't do it, so he shut the bed and would just stone face, cold, nothing. He riffed more in all the Die Hard films. When Bruce is with somebody who he's on the same level with and can riff, look at Die Hard 3. Him and Samuel L. Jackson were evenly matched. It was brilliant.
I'm glad you brought up Die Hard 3 because the exact chemistry he had with Samuel L. Jackson, he has with Tracy Morgan.
He did not have. No, you cannot say it. Everybody hates Cop Out because there was no chemistry between those two, and everybody loves Die Hard 3 because there was chemistry. It was clear. It was evident. Even if we don't even even if we don't go into the behind the scenes stuff, in all the behind the scenes stuff, everybody will tell you, including Kevin Smith himself, that fuck these two guys together. It didn't work out. I fucked up, and now I have no relationship with either one of them. Neither one of them are going to do a movie with me again. So it did not work. It did not work at all.
Kevin Smith talks shit about Red State. He goes, oh, I really wanted to do the biblical apocalypse, and I couldn't do it because we ran out of money. So now I just shoehorned this little shitty thing. Whatever. I'm never going to do horror again.
Not a shitty thing. I think it was kind of actually amazing. I'll go on, your defensive cop out with the defense of the air. The horns at the end of that movie is really, really incredible and compelling because it kind of shows you what everybody does, even though you've got two opposing sides. When something really incredible happens that we don't understand, that will bring people together in a weird way so we can sort things out. I like that ending a lot.
And then the film stops dead in its tracks, and then it ends completely in an illogical manner. Oh, he's calling.
Cop Out doesn't even start in its tracks. Let me finish. The first minute of those two are on screen together.
Let me finish. So the ending of Red State as it is now, instead of the big biblical apocalypse like he constantly said he wanted to do, a bunch of college students decide to fuck with the local cult, hook a foghorn up to an iPod, and simulate the apocalypse. That's like Mallrats level shit.
But when that moment happens, in the movie, the audience doesn't know that.
Non-funny dogma. That's what he did at the end.
Well, he had his chance to. He had his chance to do the apocalypse, and he fucking didn't do it. Because Dogma sucks for a lot of reasons because he didn't do it. He had the balls to do it again.
Dogma was actually great because it actually was his way of reconciling the hypocrisies of his religion. Dogma was great for that reason.
True.
And Red State has very little to say.
Where was his apocalypse? He wanted to do it. He could have done it. He didn't do it.
At least with Cop Out, he got to try something that, sure.
And it failed.
Work out with him.
And that's honorable. He gets the chance to try it, but it failed.
But the reason why it's underrated
failed
is because everyone is still looking like they're having fun. Yeah. Behind the scenes drama aside, it's very clear. Sean William Scott is having fun. Tracy Morgan is having fun. Bruce Willis is having fun.
Sean William Scott always has fun because he's a goofball
Jason
stoner.
Lee is having fun. Everyone looks like they're having
Jason
fun.
Lee wasn't having fun in that movie.
Oh,
Jason Lee's memorable in all other films he's been in, even when he's in small character roles. But nothing in that movie. I forgot he's in that movie.
You've got nothing but straight Kevin Smith being Kevin Smith in Cop Out, and that's great.
Oh, you gotta love
Love you,
that
Will.
face.
Hey,
That was
Alan, before we start, high five, bro.
High five, bro.
the more I stare at that background, it looks kind of like something that would happen in Red State. Anyways, Alan, you're
It's
up
true.
first. Time starts when you speak, sir. 1 minute on the clock.
Hey, look, it's Johnny Depp's career.
Oh,
Nice. I
you don't get a
heard that.
closing for that one. Go ahead, Alan.
Okay. All right. As far as being an underrated film, Red State is clearly that for Kevin Smith. I think it's an amazing piece. It shows the depth of his filmography, and he's not just a one-trick pony. And I think that's important for any director, because even the most diehard of comedic directors or comedic writers, they want to know and they want to show the audience that they can do something more. And I think Red State accomplishes that greatly. A lot of criticism for Kevin Smith's comedies is that he can't direct actors very well. Well, Michael Park shows that he really can. He can direct actors to amazing things and give really memorable performances. I think Cop Out just was a failure all around. I don't think there's anything memorable about that. The only memorable things are from the trailers, and most of that wasn't even in the final cut of the movie. So I think he got lucky with a few moments and went, okay, we'll just put this out here just because maybe people come see this movie. But it just fails on all things. There's nothing memorable about it. And I think as far as his career, I think that's really a bad spot for him. Whereas Red State is a really, look, this is something I can do too, and I can do it very well. And I think Red State is a simplification for that for him.
And time. All right, Will, back over to you. 1 minute on the clock.
So this isn't about necessarily about what is his best and his worst. This is his most underrated. Red State is perfectly rated where it is. While it's an incomplete film, there's still an audience that rather respects the film. No one shows Cop Out the respect it deserves, including my opponent, and he's not really giving any reasons why. All he's doing is really just rebutting everything. Just softly rebutting everything I'm saying. He's not even really rebutting. He's saying, oh, they have great chemistry. Oh, no, they didn't. Oh, this was really funny. Oh, no, it wasn't. Well, he's not giving me reasons why. Why they didn't have chemistry, why this wasn't funny. There's tons of Kevin Smith jokes in a Kevin Smith film that wasn't even written by Kevin Smith. And that's brilliant. There's tons of moments from when Sean William Scott tries to break into a house, falls and breaks his neck. That's hilarious. That's dark and hilarious and totally Kevin Smith. The buddy vibes are just as great as it was in Die Hard 3. This is a great film all around.
And time. All right, the end to another really good round of debate, guys. Go ahead. We're gonna shit on Johnny Depp anymore. Just use the private chat. All right. I didn't even like the guy that much, but damn, that's getting hard. I'll send you guys to the back and bring in the judges. And the only real fact check for this round that matters is both of these films are, as the competitors said, first and onlys for Kevin Smith, and really the only two times he broke the staples of his career. What Kevin Smith is known for is writing and producing and directing his own films, and he's known for doing comedies. Cop Out is the first and only time he has ever picked somebody else's script and decided to make a film based off of it. And Red State is the first and only time that he has done a film that cannot be classified as a comedy. He has done stretches into horror with Tusk, and technically Yoga Hosers counts as a horror film as well, but both are horror comedies, as is his next film, which is the anthology movie Kilroy Was Here. Kilroy was here, I think is what it's called. But with that said, Jonathan, I go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
I'm actually very enjoying this so far, and I'm sorry about that. All right, very unique choices for Kevin Smith films, even so not pretty known about the Smith fans, about the View Skew universe along with that. And I think I had to base on sort of why it gets more of an underrated. It's sort of like, where is it sort of like him doesn't get a sort of credit that compared to sort of other of his films. I was sort of based on that, and the person who might be the best pointing out that been bringing it to me, in my opinion, is Alan with Red State. So I will give my point to him.
All right, so the first vote does go to Alan. Cato, down to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main point that sold you?
Will got it for me based on the fact that he said Red State is like perfectly rated, whereas Cop Out gets too much shit. So Will.
All right, so it's 1-1. So Pez, I go to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the
Yeah.
main point that sold you?
In this one, I actually appreciated one of the guys really going after the movie rather than the behind-the-scenes stuff of the movie, which doesn't show up in the movie. So I went with Will, who focused on the other movie and his movie alone, and not just behind-the-scenes nonsense that doesn't have much with the actual stuff that we got. So I went with Will on this one.
Hey, fair is fair. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and send you to the back and bring in the competitors. Although on a separate, non-debating note, seriously, go watch Kevin Smith talk about Cop Out. It is, it's its own type of like, my God, it is its own.
Hey! Can you give me some David Addison, please? Did you just ask me to do some fucking David Addison?
I've never seen Cop Out, so if that's a reference, then...
No, that's him talking about Kevin. You know, that's him talking about Cop Out, because David Addison's his character from Moonlighting.
Clearly didn't remember that one. Anyways, it's still funny. Go watch it. I think it's Mark Maron, right? That's the famous one. It's with Maron, right? If I'm remembering that correctly.
I think like the one that I'm remembering, it's him by himself. I think it was called Too Fat for 40.
Oh, okay. Either way, he's done it a lot over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
With that said, though, let's go ahead and move on to something that had slightly less production issues, or as far as we know, because they didn't keep track of production issues back then. But with that said, recently, it was announced that the modern MonsterVerse will continue, as apparently before the end of the year, a sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong will be going into production. Right now, it's looking like director Adam Wingard will be returning, although that's not 100% confirmed. Although, I mean, good for him, because he'd be the first director to come back for a second one. And honestly, he probably did make the best one of the bunch. But with that said, let's talk about some MonsterVerse films, but let's not talk about the modern ones. Let's talk about the classic ones. The question is, what is the best MonsterVerse film released in the 1970s? Now, to establish this for the audience, the MonsterVerse is the official name that is on the combined universe of King Kong and Godzilla films. And so for the sake of Movie Battleground, MonsterVerse as a franchise is anything King Kong and Godzilla related, since currently they are associated as one franchise. Anything that they have created within those franchises, meaning the numerous King Kong remakes and sequels, and of course the decades-long kaiju films that are related to Godzilla, are all applicable here. And of course, we are talking about the ones from the 70s on this question. So with that said, Will, you are up first on this one. So I'll go ahead and bring in the timer for you, and it will start ticking when you start speaking, sir.
So when talking about the MonsterVerse, you have Godzilla and King Kong. Now, it's really hard not to think about Godzilla, but I want to talk about King Kong 1976. Why do I want to talk about that? Because unlike your typical monster film where it's monster action, and then cut to the humans because we need to set up the next set, King Kong 76, just like the original film in 1933, had the perfect balance of the human interactions and the good monster set pieces, to the point that the human monster interactions were actually meaningful to the plot as a whole, rather than humans reacting to monsters destroying their town again. It's a compelling film. It's a well-acted film, and the special effects from 1976 were phenomenal.
And time. All right, Alan, up to you, sir. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I love me nothing more than me some Godzilla. My third word, no joke, when I was a baby, was Godzilla. No joke, because I grew up on these movies. I grew up on all those Godzilla movies, the Japanese ones, and I absolutely love them. And my favorite amongst them all is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, which absolutely was manic, was crazy, was psychotic, and so much fun and rewatchable. I watched it many times with my kids. We watch it almost every year together. My kids are 10 and 12, and every year, like clockwork, they go, "Hey, Daddy, when are we going to watch Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla? We're going to watch it. Let's watch it tonight." Such a good movie, so much fun, and just exciting. Everything you wanted in a Godzilla movie, this movie provided it. It was the first time really aliens were kind of thought of as being a threat out there in the universe, so they pulled in aliens and did all kinds of manic, crazy stuff that still carries all the way to this day with Mechagodzilla coming in and Godzilla vs. Kong, because that's how important he was. That's how important this movie is.
And time. All right, Will, down to you, sir. It is another King Kong versus Godzilla situation. And hell, Mechagodzilla is here as well. It's literally the movie from a year ago, except with better human actors on the part of you guys. So with that said, Will, 2 minutes on the clock when you speak.
Oh, there's some undue pressure I didn't fucking need today. Now, so let's talk about actors that are far better than me. Let's talk about Jeff Bridges. Let's talk about Mia Farrow. Let's talk about Charles Grodin. You know what film they're in? They're not in Godzilla. They're in King Kong 1976. Why does this film slap harder than Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla? For me, it's the fact that you have these big, wonderful action sequences. You have these great, compelling performances, but overall, and I keep harping on this film has something to say. This film had a crew searching, hoping to drill for oil in this remote part of the country because there's an oil crisis back in the States. And so what did they do? They accidentally stumble upon Godzilla, and why do they have this? Why do they have these big action sequences? Because human stupidity and human greed thought, oh, we can subdue Kong, we can bring him back to the States and make him a giant show for our oil company. And then shit goes awry. That is just great unto itself, where by the end of the film, you don't know who you need to be rooting for, whether you need to be rooting for for King Kong to destroy all of them, or for the humans to take control and save the day. This is such a compelling masterpiece of a film that's really just as good as both Peter Jackson's version in 2015 and the original in 1933. Now, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, it is a lot of fun. But to me, at the end of the day, obviously Alan has a great place in his heart for this. For someone like me or the general public, it's just a Godzilla versus film, and there's a lot of them. It might be with the better of them, but it still kind of falls on that. Well, King Kong has far more to say and is just more beautiful.
All right, Alan, you are up on deck, and my phone's going haywire, so I can't really do fact checks right now, but there's an easy one right there. King Kong came out in 2005, not 2015.
Oh, whoops.
But 2017 was the release of Kong Skull Island, so you met somewhere in the middle on that one.
Okay,
Alan, you are up next.
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla was the first for a lot of Godzilla films, and it was amazing. It was also the first time Godzilla kind of became the anti-hero and then became the hero the Earth needed to save the world. As far as Kong films, 76 isn't even a close comparison to a good Kong film. It's actually a pretty terrible one. All of the other Kong films, I would argue, except for maybe Peter Jackson, so I really hate that movie because it's overindulgent and stupid, but it are better. The 30s original is one of the greatest films ever made, the original King Kong. And Kong Skull Island, I would argue, is better than 76 special effects wise. My God. And we're comparing Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla with Kong 76. The special effects, yes, they worked for the Japanese films. They worked for the time period and what they had to offer, and they brought man in suits into the conversation. And that's how you created giant monsters. Kaiju is with miniaturized sets and then people in giant suits. So much so that Kong 76 mimicked that by putting a guy in a suit, which you could clearly tell is a guy in a suit. And when it's a giant puppet, you can clearly tell it's not the same creature. It's not the same character. It's absolutely atrocious. And don't even get me started. You said it was a good action film. There are 2 action sequences, and both are atrociously terrible. That giant snake, what the hell? That's embarrassing for anything. And I just moan and go, oh God, what was the world thinking when they saw that giant snake? It's just unbelievably stupid and bad, and atrocious. But with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, you've got 4 man-in-suit effects. Brilliant, fantastic. And you got the conceit of, oh no, Godzilla's coming and destroying us. But wait, I thought Godzilla was trying to help us out the last time, but not really. But what's going on here? He's really kind of being a jerk and destroying everything. Oh no, it's a giant robot Godzilla. And then now we need the real Godzilla to come and save the day. And you've got all these giant monsters, King Caesar, everything working together, all these amazing miniaturized sets and the special effects, while, don't hold comparison to today's films, look pretty damn good.
All right, we're going to get into the 4-minute open debate. The timer will start when the first person speaks.
So where I have a problem with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla is the plot itself. Oh, I don't know, why is Godzilla destroying us again? Godzilla's green. That's metal. How can you not fucking tell that that's metal? Come on, people. That's so stupid. And,
but he was... He was camouflaged. No. When he first shows up, he looks, he looks exactly metal. Like Godzilla. In fact, it was the same suit. The actor wore the same suit, and then the other actor for Mechagodzilla was a different actor. So you get down to that, and you can tell by the body movements and everything like that. It was pretty amazing. I got to stop you for a second, only because
you can definitely tell it's something different. I do want to.
That snake. That snake in your movie. Come on, man. There's no way. That had no realism whatsoever to it. It was insanely ridiculous. And the moments between puppets, they put him in a giant gas can at the end of the movie.
We do not go into realism with these films. It's
of course we don't. Come on. You're right.
So now you talk about the special effects being worse in 76 than you do in Kong Skull Island. Well, no shit. Come on. Of course, their special effects are going to be better than, in 2015 than it was in or 2017 than it was in 1976. No shit.
Yeah, that is very true. But you're also talking about a film that you said they're going to find oil and other stuff, and all of a sudden they find this giant gorilla, and all the ridiculous the native people of the freaking island, and then all that stuff that went down. And all of a sudden she just shows up. This lady swimming or floating on this thing in the middle of the ocean just shows up, and I'm sorry. The acting wise, because you talked about the acting, Jeff Bridges did not want to be there. Charles Grodin really didn't want to be there. And I love me some Jessica Tandy. I love her. She's the only reason to watch that movie, i.e. watch it because she's so gorgeous. But my God, she is, talk about overacting. She could be in Cop Out of me because she was overacting her ass off and going crazy. It was embarrassingly stupid and bad. I mean, the most melodramatic stuff I've ever seen in a movie past the 1940s. It was atrocious and hard to watch.
But then when you get to the scenes between Tandy and Kong, there's some compelling drama in there that I find very underrated.
Underrated?
That's
she was getting molested by a big puppet hand.
Molested? No, there's no molestation. There's no molestation there.
That's molestation, bro. It was ridiculous.
1933 one molestation gets it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same thing. But Peter Jackson warped everybody's brain by thinking the monkey and the lady loved each other, and they didn't. Okay.
This is such the Beauty and the Beast tale that that everyone always talks about. Oh, it's a big monkey and a woman. Big monkey and a woman. There's some compelling shit, especially when Tandy is just going, "Oh, you want to do this? Fine. Just eat me. Go ahead. Do it. If you're going to do it, just do it. Don't toy with me." That is such an electrifying scene. And no one just thinks about it because, it just came out in the time period. It was such a everyone just thinks
it was
that's
only
the movie of the
electrifying
time
because we
period.
were waiting for her shirt to come off. Come on, be real, man.
Come on,
It was,
don't be gross,
she was
Alan.
beautiful, stunningly compelling, everything, which made her way
This
better
is so-
an actor
at
in other
at least,
films.
but at
She
least
was just,
at
it was
least we have something to
ridiculous.
talk
Absolutely
about
ridiculous.
here. At least we have something to talk about in in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. It's just another versus film. Yeah, it's a little crazier. Oh, they brought
It's
in
the
aliens.
greatest
There's
one.
some
It's
confusion.
got the
Oh,
best
but
action sequences. It's got the
it's
best
Tokyo
suit
being destroyed
characterizations
over and
of
over
these
again.
monsters.
That's all it is.
Godzilla's whole character came pretty much from this one. So that all the other Godzilla films, you realize who he was by his mannerisms, his movements, not just the look of this monster, because there were so many other giant kaiju in these movies. His character became full of life and amazing, and absolutely
And
became a hero
Tom.
to save the planet. Air high five, bro. Air high five.
Alan, if I was there, I would be like, I know that both of us would just be hugging after every one of these.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just collapsing to the floor, laughing our asses off.
It'd be much friendlier than Chris Rock and Will Smith are right now.
I was
with
gonna
that
say it
said-
too, but it.
No, Aaron. Will Cohen, goddammit. Will Cohen.
Well, Will Cohen, you have 1 minute to close when you start speaking.
Okay. So when breaking down Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, it's interesting that they brought in these characters. It's interesting that he finally, they got to be more of an anti-hero / hero of the story than he did in some of the other films. But I argue that his character was already kind of getting there before this film, whereas with this film, he was kind of already there. The reason why I still think that King Kong 76 is better is because unlike your typical Godzilla film, the human interactions are kind of sort of interesting, but really you're just waiting for waiting for the monster pieces. With King Kong, the human interactions are the reason why things go awry. It's the reason why Kong comes and wrecks the city. It's the reason why Jessica Tandy is there with Kong. The human interaction is so compelling, and it drives the film home.
And time. All right, Alan, you got the final minute here. Time starts when you speak.
If you want human interaction, you've got way better versions and examples in other Kong films. If you want high drama, then an actual compelling, fascinating story told, you go to the first Godzilla film. I'll talk about the Japanese one, not the American cut. Is actually a really compelling, sad, tragic film and an allegory for the nuclear holocaust that happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's an actually incredible film for that. But we're not here for that. We're not here. We want giant monsters. We want them fighting. The human interaction just has to save us off until we get what we want. And Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla delivers that full frontal 1,000,000 times over in 8 amazing scenes of kaiju action. You get multiple kaiju. You got King Caesar coming in to help Godzilla defeat this mechanical monster, and it's absolutely compelling and fun and exciting and great, and it carries over even till modern day. That 76 Kong film did not at all by any stretch of the imagination. Most people don't remember it exists.
And that is time. Guys, it's selling you short to say that you're bringing it tonight. I'm going to go ahead and send you to the back to let the judges do their thing as I bring them in. And Tato, I go to you first, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
Spaceman got it for me. He was more balanced in his arguments. He was able to counter things and diss on Kong 76 and praise Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And that last minute really sealed the deal for me. So, Alan.
All right. First vote goes to Alan. Austin, I go down to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
I kind of went the other way. I thought Will was on fire here in defending his movie and taking down the Godzilla stuff and did a better job pointing out way more positive stuff about his than Alan getting kind of off track with some of his arguments. So I went with Will, actually. I thought he killed it in this one.
All right. For the third time in a row, we have to go to the split. Jonathan, I go to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
Well, I'm I'm gonna go my same arguments to my same points with Austin. I'm gonna go and point to Will for Con 76 because I think he pointed out some of the more not say balance, but like more reasoning behind why 76 sort of stands out around that film. Though I was kind of waiting for like Alan to point it out, but I didn't hear enough of him for Godzilla versus Mega Godzilla to sort of explain it or at least count a little more on that. So I will give my point to Will.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and send you to the back as we bring in the judges and we get ourselves on to question number 4, which is if we're
Yeah,
going to talk about
I'm sorry. I'm just over here laughing my ass off right now. Go on. I'm sorry.
all good.
Go ahead.
Well, since we're on question number 4, we started off the episode talking about someone who's got a film coming out this week. And now we're going to go to somebody. Well, actually, he didn't have a film coming out this week. But now we do have somebody who has a film coming out this week. Mark Wahlberg's apparently years-long passion project, Father Stew, released last Wednesday. It is currently in theaters now for you to go see. And this is a film where Wahlberg is clearly trying to put his all into his performance, unlike Uncharted. So I figure let's focus on Marky Mark, and I like that movie, but still, let's focus on Marky Mark himself and talk about his best performances. What is Mark Wahlberg's best performance on the heels of him trying to give maybe a career best? What is it so far? Alan, I go to you first on this one, sir, as you chose to. The screen is up, and it will start ticking when you speak.
In my personal opinion, Mark Wahlberg is a really great actor in small doses. His carried films that he's carried haven't really been all that compelling, interesting as far as him following him through it. We look at The Happening, of course, for a great example of that. So as far as acting wise, I think in small doses, he's really, really fantastic. And that's why I think his best performance is in The Departed. He displays everything you need to display in that character, that Dignam that he creates there. And it's absolutely amazing. And he holds his own against actors that are actually higher caliber than he is, with Martin Sheen, with Jack Nicholson, and without Baldwin rather, and with Leonardo DiCaprio. He actually does an amazing job in that film. He goes from intense, hardcore, vicious kind to jokey, wisecracking, to really kind of, okay, this means the stakes are extraordinarily high for this. I really think he does everything in that film, and it's his best performance by far than he's given thus far.
All right, that'll be time. Will, over to you for your opening minute.
So I will agree that Mark Wahlberg is good in small doses, but what that means to me is that he shines in ensemble pieces. When there's an ensemble, he knows what to do. So I picked the film where he had the best chemistry and proved that he could actually lead a performance if he actually wanted to, and that to me is Charlie in The Italian Job 2003. Why did I pick this film? Because this is the film that was brought about because of Ocean's 11, and everyone wanted the next big quippy heist film. And yes, while this is a remake, and while the Michael Caine film is still a classic, with Mark Wahlberg in the lead role, is doing his best George Clooney impression in the best possible way. He's, instead of just being gruff, he is just suave as can be, and it's amazing to watch.
And time. All right. We'll go back over to Alan for The Departed, also known as The City of Boston Making a Movie. 2 minutes on the clock for you when you speak.
I think The Departed is Wahlberg's best performance. Another reason is, going along the same lines, that he shows in very small doses and small scenes that he can deliver a whole lot. He can go from wisecracking to intense in just moments. And the way he uses silence in the one scene where he's talking to the FBI agents, and he's basically saying that we don't really need you, and fuck you, I'm not going to give you up my informant, is really, really compelling and interesting. because he goes from wisecracking with Alex Baldwin to, I really have disdain for everybody in this room without even saying a word. And he does it really, really quickly and really, really fascinatingly. I think it's a showcase of what he can do. And I think with the right director and the right writer, he could be more compelling and use those same skills in a lead film that he leads. Yeah, he's been great in a lot of different ensemble films, but I think if we count Departed as an ensemble film, that he really shines much more than The Italian Job, which, he shows gruff and he can show that, okay, I'm intense in certain moments, but kind of loses steam and kind of goes to his resting, I really don't know what's going on face. He doesn't show that in The Departed at all. In fact, he shows the opposite. He shows I'm in control. I know exactly what's going on. And when something goes that puts me out of control, I'm going to do whatever I can to get back to what's going on. When he gets fired and says, go ahead, fire me. I've lost everything. I'm going to show you that I can do this, and I'm going to attack and kill, and goes really, really vicious and terrifying. And then that ultimate payoff at the end of the film where he shoots Matt Damon, it's just absolutely brilliant, and a great payoff between two acting scenes that you've got at least 45 minutes of movie in between. You see the through line through simple looks and simple quiet moments. I think it's really, really hard to do that as an actor, and I think he really shines in that movie because of it, because he shows everything that he can do within The Departed, within that character of Captain Dignam. I think it's absolutely brilliant and amazing.
And that is time. Will, back over to you, sir.
So for me, with The Departed, or as I call it, Quap Out, now I have to, with his performance, I don't see any difference between his character there and his character in The Replacement Killers. I see no difference whatsoever. The big difference is that he was the leading man in The Replacement Killers, and rightfully so, he deserved that, but you still got more of the layers. You got more there than you did in The Departed. The Departed, yeah, he's standing with these bigger actors, but they're outshining him on every stretch. With The Italian Job, it's more of an ensemble effort. You have him going up against Edward Norton, who at the time was the big Hollywood hotshot, and the scenes between them are just electrifying. You have Charlize Theron, who is giving her all there too. You have Seth Green, you have and now I'm going to blank on the guy's name too. The guy who was in Hobbs and Shaw, Jason Statham. He, where The Italian Job differs from me with The Departed is that he has absolute chemistry with them. Everyone's gelling, and he's not going over the top with his gruffness. He's not, he doesn't need to just drop F-bombs every 5 seconds. He doesn't need to just give that big, that Mark, the Mark Wahlberg face of just tough, just machismo tough guy. He doesn't need to do any of that. All he does is just, oh, here's a problem, here's a solution. Here's a problem, here's a solution. He is an absolute leader in the Italian Job, and he shows that he could run that show all on his own. But he still gives everyone else a chance to shine around him. That's the mark of a leader. That's the mark of a leading man, and that's why his performance in there is better.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get into the 4-minute open discussion. Let's try and keep our impressions to a minimum, please. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Yeah, The Italian Job, I mean, he's good in it. He's really good in it, but I've seen it in a lot of other movies that he's done the similar kind of performances. The oil rig one, I can't remember the name of it. And also the, I don't want to say the Benghazi movie, but it wasn't that one. It was 12 Strong or something like that, the soldiers in Iraq. He does a lot of the same things in ensemble pieces. And it's kind of, I don't see the difference of characterization with him, and especially in The Italian Job. It's just kind of the same Mark Wahlberg I've seen before in leadership positions or commanding positions, and he has his three faces that he makes.
You see, my problem is that you're making the same argument that I'm making, but by the wrong film. I've seen his performance in The Departed way too many times. I've seen him just be gruff. I'm the guy with authority, but I have the attitude and this, and that, negative swagger, don't fuck with me attitude. He does that in almost every single one of his films. The one that's the reason why The Italian Job stood out to me is because he didn't have that. He toned it back, and he let it be an ensemble piece, but he was still commanding the show. They still made sure he had, that he put on enough performance to make sure he is the headliner, to make sure why he's the headliner and why he's taking over for such a powerhouse in the remake, that Michael Caine left behind. That's an amazing feat to do, to remake a film starring Michael Caine, put Mark Wahlberg in that character, and still make a compelling heist movie. That's a feat unto itself, and no one talks about this movie because of that.
Well, I think it's a compelling heist movie because of the overall film. It's not because of Mark Wahlberg's performance. And he gets to display in The Departed, he gets to display every kind of weapon in his arsenal. He does do his usual, he's good at that gruff, commanding, tough guy thing, because that's what he's good at. But he also shows his subtlety and his comedic timing in The Departed, while at the same time doing the tough guy commanding performance as well. And then the same scenes, he's doing it, very quickly, and that's really difficult for an actor to do when they want to show something they want to show.
I did not find him very funny in The Departed at all. I found nothing more than I found the situations funny, but I did not find his delivery funny at all. I found him just being Mark Wahlberg, whereas in the Italian Job, where he's delivering just great lines. He's riffing with Jason Statham about whether or not they want to call Seth Green's character the real Napster or not. The reason, him going through why every character has their little nicknames, from Handsome Rob to Left Ear to everyone. He's explaining,
and it's all cute, but he does that with that Alec Baldwin scene. He's talking to the CIA, where he goes, "I'm tired from fucking your mother. She's tired from fucking my father." It's so great. Boom, boom, one-liner after one-liner, quick and interesting, and then goes to, "Okay, you guys can't fuck with me, and I hate you," in the drop of a hat, where he shows this really amazing chemistry, and then shows it to where, "Oh no, I don't have that with you. Don't try that with me. I can do it with this guy, but not with you." And really
Mark
interesting
Wahlberg knows how to say fuck. We always knew that Mark Wahlberg knew how to say fuck.
The scene with Leo, no, oh God, no. And the scene with Leo is absolutely incredible when he's got Leo's number. And you said earlier that he couldn't hold his own with him. He commands, takes over, and kind of stomps Leo in that moment where he's talking about you are two different people, and he uses his dialect, and his dialect switches between a northern Boston guy to a south Boston guy, just like that. And that's also something really hard to do, to change dialects and change accents to show him that he was doing it, and he knew he got his number. It was incredible. It was a great scene.
No.
It was a great scene.
In the Italian Job, it's his entire range. We actually got to see subtle Mark Wahlberg. We got to see, gruff Mark Wahlberg. We got to see charismatic. We got to see.
We got to see that much more in The Departed.
We got to see a million times better in the Italian Job.
A million times.
Much earlier, and it's still the vastly better performance because he allows himself to be pulled back without using his trademark fucks every 5 minutes.
And that's the script.
All right, Alan, you are up first for the final minute. Time starts when you speak.
Mark Wahlberg shows every bit of the range that he has as an actor, and all of his arsenal in his quill in The Departed. And there's really no comparison when you put the scenes next to each other. I'm going to put that Leo scene with Martin Sheen in the scene, and Wahlberg, where he subtly goes from the back of the room to the front of the room, so subtly, and because he knows he's got that character in his back pocket, and he knows this is what's going to happen. This is how I'm going to show you. You can't do what I do. He does it through real subtle things, and then he makes this smiley moment where he knows he's got his number, and he switches the accent, which as an actor, that's really hard to do in one scene, to show that, hey, I can do this too. I can make these uses of this accent, and I know that's what you're doing. And then goes right up to him, and is just absolutely compelling and electrifying, that scene. And he does it with very little movement other than his facial expressions and what he's doing with his mouth. That's subtlety stuff that only a really good actor can do when they're given the opportunity to do that. And in that scene, they are. It's amazing.
And
It's great.
time. All right, Will, you have the final minute of the round when you speak.
So a Boston-born actor doing two different Boston accents, that's the height of acting. I can argue that one day in and day out, but really, I don't think that's nearly as impressive because A, he's from Boston. What he has never gotten to do, except for one time in his entire career, is try to be the charismatic lead in a heist film. Heist films are very, very finicky little films because you have to have a big commanding lead. That was George Clooney in 3 different films. So who do we have now? We have Mark Wahlberg, who has not been seen in that kind of role and really hasn't been seen since. And that's a shame because he gets to do everything. He gets to have those little silent, those little quiet moments with, when he's going up to Edward Norton's character and going, oh, well, here's where you messed up. Here's why we're going to beat you. Here's what's going to happen. Just that little tete-a-tete is so electrifying. It's so much better than, oh, I can say fuck in this accent. I can say fuck in this accent. That's just not great.
And time. All right, guys. Once again, another really, really good round. I'll go ahead and set you to the back while we bring the judges in. And there's just a couple of fact checks. So for the film confusion that was brought up at the start of the 3rd round, the oil rig movie is Deepwater Horizon. The war film that Alan was referencing is Lone Survivor. Funny enough, both of those were directed by Peter Berg. It was not the Benghazi movie. That was 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi by Michael Bay. And it was not the other one with numbers. That was 12 Strong, which was released a few years after. Although
Peter Berg, I love
they're
that
all
guy.
of a similar vibe. It's different stories, kind of a similar vibe, so the confusion is apparent. Also, what I'm about to say should have no bearing on the round as it was not brought up, but I do have to respect, first off, both of these gentlemen for making it through 4 rounds of Battleground without once saying the words Rotten Tomatoes. I always appreciate that. But secondly, without having to rely on the fact that The Departed was nominated for an Academy Award, famously the only actor from that film to receive an Academy Award nomination, despite the numerous good performances in the film. So I appreciate both of you guys for not relying or trying to counteract that point and focusing solely on the performance itself. Again, always respect it when someone doesn't go to the easy things. With that said, though, Austin, you were up first, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
Yeah, this one, I was really looking for somebody to really pound the question home. And to me, Alan would just demolish the question. He broke it down like 15, 20 points on the performances. I mean, piece by piece by piece. And I thought we'll just focus a little more about the story and the movie. But Alan absolutely destroyed the question here. So I go with Alan on this one.
All right, Jonathan, I go down to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
I will actually give my point to Alec. He actually pointed out that some of the things why Wahlberg's performance in The Departed, it's sort of like more different than the others right here. Even with Will's counters on that, he deferred it right over here. It's kind of more the same thing in a tiny job, but he does a little bit way better in The Departed and also holds his own other actors in the film. He doesn't use the usual Wahlberg thing. You have to have a boxing accent, but at least it was more compelling, a little more reserved down at points. So I will give point to Alan for The Departed.
All right. Well, judges, thank you guys so much. I'm going to go ahead and send you guys to the back as we will bring in our competitors because they have put on a ball of a show tonight, but they are not done. It is 2-2, and that means we are moving on to the blind round. If this happens to be your first Movie Battleground, welcome. Thank you for joining us 60-odd episodes in. What is a blind round, you might ask? Well, the blind round is simple. This is a question that the competitors were not given ahead of time, unlike the other questions. They also have zero indication as to where it comes from. As I've said in the past, regular questions in regular debate usually have something to do with the release date of the match or something that's kind of apparent in the air at that time. Whereas here, there is no indicator as for what could be coming up to them. The way it'll work is I will give them a generalization of a question. The very ironic example, but continued used example is name me a Will Smith movie. With that said, once I give them the generalization, they will then give me an answer based off of the generalization. Once they receive the full question, Then they will have to debate that question, whether or not they think that their answer fully agrees to it. They have to do their best to answer it. And by this point in the show, we have more than seen that the answer that seems least likely is a possible winner if you sell it right. With that said, though, gentlemen, do either of you have a question for me?
No question for you.
Okay.
I always go down to the damn it after these rounds.
You always do. Second time, man. Second time.
Right?
All right.
Come on now.
With that said, in just a moment, I will display your generalization, at which point you guys will submit your answers. And as a reminder, whoever submits their answer first will be the person who goes first. With that said. And I also should throw out, it's kind of the unwritten rule, but if you need to take a second to look something up, you guys are allowed to. You don't literally just have to, but it's there for you. That
Cool.
said. Name me a sequel to a fantasy film.
Can I do it?
Yeah, good. Jump in.
The Two Towers.
Okay. The Two Towers. And then Will.
God, I'm scared.
I have a bad feeling about this, but I have to go with my gut. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Ooh,
Yeah, that is fancy. Yep, absolutely.
nice. Oh God.
All right. The question is, or the answers are Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. The question is, what is the best fantasy sequel film of all time?
Okay, there we go. All right.
All right.
All right,
So,
well,
gentlemen, you
okay.
guys are going to get a couple of moments to put together some prep before we get into this. For those watching, it'll be just a matter of seconds, so stick with us, and we'll be back with the blind round. Right, guys, and we're back and ready to go. These guys have had a couple of minutes to put together some semblance of an argument. As a reminder, the blind round prompt was to name a sequel to a fantasy film. The question is, what is the best fantasy film sequel of all time? We do have Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers versus Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And this might be the first time you've ever had, maybe outside of, I feel like the big four geek franchises are definitely Star Wars, MCU, or I guess comic books, if you want to call the whole thing, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I don't think we've ever actually had two of them verse each other. So this might be a first in Battleground history, but let's see who pulls it out. Alan, you answered first with the Two Towers, so you are going to be going first in this round, and you can start when the timer starts. Gentlemen, you've both done a great job tonight, so best of luck. May the best man win.
Cool. All right. I chose as the best fantasy film or sequel of all time was the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. I think this film exemplifies doing something, continuing a story and doing it better than the original. And a lot of people often talk about Empire Strikes Back being better than the original Star Wars, which is, yes, true. I think The Two Towers is actually the same kind of thing. It expands upon the fellowship, this broken fellowship, and what's going to happen, because your list at the end was such a dramatic, oh my gosh, what are they going to do? These two hobbits, they're going off on their own. What's going to happen with this fellowship now? And you get an introduction of one of the most iconic characters of all time with Gollum, who exemplifies what you can do with a CGI character. Is just amazing. And one of the greatest battle sequences in Helm's Deep that I've ever seen. I still haven't seen many battle sequences better done than Helm's Deep, and where the stakes are enormously raised than Two Towers. I think it's a fantastic film and a fantastic sequel, the best one there is.
And time. All right, Will, down to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So I have a lot of respect for the Two Towers, but the reason why I chose Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is because this film had what the Two Towers did not have. It had a payoff, and it had a glorious payoff at that. For the 3 films preceding it, we kept on hearing the name that we should not speak. We kept on hearing Voldemort. Voldemort's coming back. Voldemort's coming back. When is Voldemort coming back? And then we finally get Voldemort. And not only do we get Voldemort, it's played by Ralph Fiennes, who just knocks it out of the park. Not only do we have one of the greatest reveals in modern cinema with a villain, but we have action sequences galore. We have Harry being chased by a fucking dragon on a broomstick, which is amazing. We have the scene with the mermaids. We have the battle in the maze. These are just great scenes overall, and I'll get into more, but man, this is a great movie.
And time. All right, Alan, back to you. 2 minutes for Two Towers when you speak.
The Two Towers is an example of a film that everybody, at least who's a fan of the Lord of the Rings books, knows the outcome. They know the ending. But this was one of the few times in a movie, I remember watching this movie for the first time, I went, oh my God, I'm so invested in this telling of this story that I forgot it's all going to end up okay. I was so compelled with the stakes, with Helm's Deep particularly, that there's a no-win situation, and it keeps getting worse, and it keeps getting worse, and it's really, really amazingly, the tension is built up so high that I forgot that I know how this story ends. I know how this ends, but I'm so caught up in this telling of the story that I didn't know. I didn't remember how the story ends. And to me, I think that is the mark of a fantastic film that's able to take what you know and shift it to where it's still exciting. You're still on the edge of your seats, and you still don't, and now you don't remember how the story's going to end, even though you really do, because they were saying so truthful and faithful to the book, which was absolutely incredible that they were doing that too. And then the moment is one of the moments in the theater that I'll never forget, is when Gandalf, the sun comes shining from his staff, and the light goes down the mountain, and the Rohirrim just come riding down there, and you go, oh, okay, everything's going to be okay now. And that's one of the greatest moments, I think, in film history, especially these fantasy sequels, because you've got this hope, this beautiful, amazing moment, the music's swelling, and it's just, oh God, I can't believe this. This is absolutely incredible moments that I've not felt many times in a theater. And again, going back to that, this tells a story I already know, but does it in such a way that it really takes my expectations and destroys them and heightens my love for this material. I just think it's a fantastic film.
All right, that is time. Will, back over to you. 2 minutes for yourself.
So the Two Towers complements the Fellowship of the Rings, and it's a great lead-in to Return of the King. So everything is pretty even. There's some great moments in it, sure, but it's still part of a trilogy, and we know how the stakes are kind of there, but we know that our main cast are still going to survive because there's still another movie. With the Harry Potter franchise, J.K. Rowling was no stranger to offering characters, especially very early on, and going, okay, people are going to die. People are going to die. And then we finally get to see the payoff of all of this. We finally get to see all of those warnings come to fruition. We finally get to see, a very beloved character die. We finally get to see the return that all characters were threatening from the very beginning in Voldemort returning. We finally get to see that. We finally get to see how deep the betrayal of a friend of Harry's family went. We finally got to see all the mechanics, and knowing full well it's just going to get worse for these characters later and everything like that. We have a deeper story. We have a richer story. We have better performances than in the Two Towers. We have we have just these amazing action sequences that are just very tight, very conformed, but you can see everything. The problem that I have with action, the battle scenes in both the Two Towers and in the subsequent films, is that it's so hard, it's so poorly lit, it's hard to know everything, it's hard to keep track of everything. But the action sequences in Goblet of Fire are so well lit, so well choreographed, so well shot that it's easy to follow the action and be invested even more so, and that's why it's better.
And time. All right. We are going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start ticking when the first person speaks.
I'm going to have to, as far as introduction of characters, that we're talking about Cedric and we're talking about Gollum. Cedric dies, but we don't really meet him in the films until the fourth movie, until that Goblet of Fire. And so when he dies, it's tragic more because he's a young person, not because it's Cedric. Because we don't really know him. We don't really know him before that. We don't know him in the other films at all. He comes into this movie and it's great. He's okay character. Yeah, great. He's a foil, but then he becomes nice to Harry. And then he dies, but it's tragic because he's a child.
Because he becomes the unwitting member of a love triangle that we get to see play out, because Harry is just absolutely in love with Cho Chang. And who does Cho Chang wind up dating? Cedric Diggory.
But that's not really the investment of that movie. That love triangle is such a small part of that movie. There's so many more important things in the movie compared to that love triangle. So really, that's the only thing he gives. That's the only thing he gives is that triangle. That's at least part of the movie.
And young love, those kind of things mean everything. These are kids. These are kids faced with extraordinary.
But in the concept of that movie, it has nothing to do with the overall plot. The overall plot is the return of Voldemort, and you get to see that, and that's fantastic.
But the problem
barely get to see it.
The problem is that love triangle, that relationship, actually distracts Harry from the ultimate goal, and that's where stakes get risen. And especially since he
lucks his way out through all of that movie. There's no real mistakes are all because things happen, but he lucks out of everything. Which really isn't that interesting either. With the Two Towers. These stakes are highly risen because you don't think these characters are going to survive out of that one.
Then you can say that Merry and Pippin lucked out by meeting the Ents. So where's the stakes there? If you're going to say that he lucked out with the skill that he learned in the 3 previous years, then them just lucking out and meeting the Ents who managed to save their asses for half the film.
But they didn't really luck out. They actually escaped from being killed. And again, a part of the film where we know what happens, but we actually think the way it's filmed so brilliantly, we think that they actually die, and we forget that they do survive because they get to go on to this other adventure with the Ents, and then going over to the giant war, the Great War with the Ents, which is absolutely beautiful and so well filmed. It's insane. And you've got practical effects versus CGI with that dragon who doesn't hold up in those movies at all.
Absolutely holds up, especially
not even close. Not even close.
You're still not addressing my point here, Alan.
The Uruk-hai hold up dramatically because it was practical.
My point is that if you're going to say that they use their skill to escape, then how is it not the same kind of level of skill that Harry, as you put it, lucked out in that? He is an expert.
Well, he's also given all of the answers for all of the quiz, all the tests by other people. Neville helps him out, so he doesn't figure that out on his own. With the egg, Cedric helps him out, so he doesn't figure that out on his own. Nothing he really figures out on his own. He gets help from everything. He even says that later in the other movies.
But you understand the reason why he got the help from the egg? It's because he gave Cedric the prior warning about the dragons. So it was a mutual thing. So there's a lot of, so it's a loving
But
thing.
then Hagrid gave him that. So, that's the thing. Everybody gives him stuff and he lucks his way out of everything. So the stakes, as far as even Harry Potter movies, it's not even that compelling a film compared to, I would argue that Azkaban is way more compelling and interesting. And Order of the Phoenix is far more, the stakes are risen because you've got Voldemort and how the rest of the world is reacting to this. And then he gets to have another father figure with Sirius Black, and that's a far more compelling, interesting story than Goblet of Fire. So as far as sequels are
In
concerned,
the books, you're
other Harry
absolutely
Potter
correct.
films are
The
better.
movies were completely mishandled. The only one that really wasn't in this on this part was Goblet of Fire.
And time.
Oh,
All right, Alan, you are up first for the closing. Your
God
final minute of
damn.
the match, sir. Make it count.
Spassy.
I'm gonna go with the if you've got we're talking Lord of the Rings films, and if we're talking sequels and we're counting The Hobbits maybe as a Lord of the Rings sequel, then Two Towers is the best one of all of them by far. Return of the King is longer, but it's not a better film. It's not as compelling. You're not as invested in what the characters are doing than you are with the Two Towers. Harry Potter films, there's far better ones. Azkaban is better. Both of Deathly Hallows films are better than Goblet of Fire, and I'd argue Phoenix, which is my personal favorite, but I think raises the stakes for all the characters much more than Goblet of Fire does, where Harry doesn't really get to learn anything. He actually lucks his way through the film. With the Two Towers, all of the characters are deeply invested in what's going on, and they're compelled to we have to fight for everything that we have to overcome these great odds and obstacles that are put before us, and they do it with an amazing gusto. And as far as performances wise, oh my God, there's so many more. All of the characters and the actors in Two Towers fare way better than two or three people in the other one.
All right. You want to cut just a couple seconds over. That's fine, though. Will, I'll give you a couple extra seconds there as well, because I know it's the last round. You guys want to get your points in. But, Will, time starts when you begin speaking. Final minute.
So I'll agree that The Two Towers is one of the better sequels, but the big problem that I have, and I'm going to reiterate this again, in the big battle sequences, I've seen these movies countless amount of times, including the Hobbit films, and the one problem that all of them seem to have is that the action sequences are way too busy. You lose characters, and therefore you don't know what is lost and what is gained until after the battle. That's not good cinematography. If you want good cinematography, the dragon sequence from Goblet of Fire is amazing. That entire chase sequence around Hogwarts, the battle in the maze, which even it is very darkly lit, but you're just along for the ride, just with every hit, every spell, every crash. The underwater scene, which underwater scenes are almost impossible to film, and they make it look beautiful and dark and scary, and it's great. And we get the big Vader reveal moment in Voldemort coming back, and we get to see how dangerous he actually is. All of that is far more compelling than the 2 hours.
All right. Guys, this has been an absolutely awesome match. Neither of you deserves to lose, but we're going to find out who did. That's a harsh way of putting it, but I'm going to go. There you go. One final friendly high five. I'll send you guys to the back as I bring in our judges for one final round. Jonathan, I go to you first, sir. As concise as you can hit it for me. Who gets your vote, and what was the main thing that sold you?
This is a tough argument to who I decide who gets it, because I think both of these guys did a great job of why their films and the franchises, they sort of elevate the previous film around it and brings a little more stakes to it in their films at each count. So it's gonna be a tough one for me. So I'm slightly it's just a close margin, but I will give my point slightly to Alan.
All right. With that said, Jake, I go down to you, sir. Who gets your vote, and what was the main point that sold you?
And your winner, Alan Spaceman Shepard. He got it with the known versus forgotten bit early in the round. He mentioned that even though he knew what was going to happen, it mattered in those rings flicks.
Don't steal my bit again, Tato. Guys, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and send you to the back. Thank you so much. And with that, your winner by a final score of 3-2. It is Dr. Spaceman Alan Shepard. And, sir, you are pulling an absolute killing, man. Most people play to avoid the blind round. You are almost playing to perfect it at this point because that's 2 wins coming out of it. Not many people can say that. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, that when we did trivia back in the day, you would always say that I would win face or falling face forward into a win. I think
ass
that's what
backward,
you
face
kind of
forward,
coined
whatever
that,
you
ass
wanna call
backward,
it.
face forward. Yeah, whatever it was. But this one, yeah, it seems that I'm craving that speed round, craving that ending round. Why not? But I'm not really. I don't want to really get there, but I guess I do good in the clutch. This was so much fun. Again, always love having fun at these things, and Will is absolutely phenomenal at this. So the fact that I can even say that I won over him, I don't even really feel fair saying that. I think we were just a good match, good natured, good humored. We didn't have to, throat punch, to quote somebody else earlier, each other. We just had a good time, and just brought again our love for these movies and our passion for these things, and brought it to the forefront. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, obviously, at a 2-0 record, that puts you in a very good position going forward to potentially get yourself in against some of those higher ranked competitors who kind of made their way through the tournament last year. Do you have anyone in particular in mind you'd like to see, or you just kind of rolling with whatever's thrown at you?
I'm rolling with whatever's thrown at me. I can't even think of anybody's name right now that I would say, I would love to get into it with this person. I always want to fight Jay Burns just because that's my man, and I always have a good time arguing with him about stuff. So that would be fun. But I don't even know if he's really in this thing anymore. I know he judges every now and then, but I say that because I love me some Jay and I miss him. But anybody we'll just have fun with.
All right, absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and send you to the back and let you enjoy this till the next time we see you, sir. And we will bring in your opponent, who is certainly far from a loser today. Will, I do have to say this. Obviously, unofficially with the exhibitions, you've played 4 matches. If we count those in, you are 2-2. So either way, you're still 50-50. But I can never say, even when we are encouraging you to drink and not care, you certainly don't lack effort. It was a great, valiant effort there. Sometimes it is just, when guys are that good back and forth, sometimes you got to throw a wrench in there to decide a winner, and the wrench may have got you just a little bit today. How are you feeling?
I feel at this point, that first, apparently Mahalo in today at the very least might mean you're mine now, bitch. So there's nothing I could have done about that. Second of all, I'm probably gonna my record right now. I think it's not always going to reflect how I am as a performer in this league, and so everyone's going to say, oh well, Alan took me to sudden death. Well, I took him to the blind round just as much. So so this was highly competitive without resulting to shouting matches, without resorting to insults, without resorting to putting someone in the corner for shitting on the rug. This was an intense match. Obviously, one thing I think got me was my strategy didn't pay off as much as it did in previous matches, where I chose first almost in every single one, and I chose the unpopular film. Now, I find it very interesting that Alan lost his strength and I lost mine because I chose Kevin Smith. So I find that one very fascinating because I thought I had the Kevin Smith one as a lock, but this was just a very, very heated match. I keep every single time I keep getting myself in more and more heated matches, and it's just amazing to watch. And I can't wait for people to actually watch this, because at the very least, people are going to say, well, even though he lost, I might be afraid of him now. And if I make one person say that, I did my job today.
Absolutely. And it's again, same question. Right now, we're kind of just taking it one match at a time with most players. There's no direct plan, but is there kind of somebody on deck you would like to see, or is it just whoever comes at you, comes at you?
Unlike the trivia leagues, I really haven't been following people's records. I know the people that say that they want to, face me in debate matches have better records than I do right now, and so I kind of doubt that those are going to happen. But right now, I just want to see whoever comes next, and I just want to take that because, again, I want to see what they do. I want to see what I do. I want to see how I can perfect the strategies I have and maybe learn some new strategies to go along with this and just be even more of a fierce competitor the next time around.
All right. Well, again, sir, it was a great performance. I look forward to having you back in the future, and we will see you then. And guys, that is a wrap on another movie battleground. With that, Will Cohen goes to the 1-1, but it is an admirable performance. Unfortunately, in these cases where it's only a 1-on-1, and sometimes you get those tough matches, we've seen players that have put the proof in the pudding, so to speak, that just don't come out with the victory. And Alan Shepard, Dr. Spaceman, he was one of the OGs of TMG, so to speak, who was invited in for, he sat back, he decided to wait a little bit, really more personal scheduling than anything outside of it. But here he is now, and he's 2-0, and he is on a very good path to getting to good places soon. But with that said, thank you to my judges in the back, Austin Howell, Jonathan Peck, Jake Reese. Thank you guys so much for being here with us tonight. Thank you to the competitors. Again, Will Cohen, great job. Congratulations, Alan, on the win. Thank you to all of you guys for watching. Please be sure to rate the video, drop a comment below your thoughts on anything that you guys saw in tonight's video. Subscribe to the channel, be on the lookout for more, because every week we have 2 battlegrounds coming at you, and we are building towards our very first title match between Joe Fairley and Henry Sanchez. That is coming at you guys on the 23rd. April 23rd will be that match. So 1 week from today. Stick around for it, and we'll see you guys next time on the Movie Battleground. Take care.